so hi Sam, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, I've got my tea ready, so I'm all ready to have a chat. So yeah.
Good. I hope you get through yours. Alex last week was like, oh no, I didn't get to drink my tea. So that wasn't good. So basically these are just so that people can get a bit of a understanding on like our backgrounds and then what we get up to kind of day to day. Because I think, yeah, they're quite broad, some of the specialisms. So is it all right if you kind of just give people a bit of a background on like what your specialism is and then your kind of route into the programme? It's quite a broad question.
Yeah, it's all right. It's I think like summarising it all in one quick sentence might be a bit difficult, but essentially, like the respiratory physiologist role, we're involved in breathing tests. We're involved in people that have sleep disordered breathing. Also people that are discharged from hospital and are on oxygen therapies. So it's a really varied role, but at the minute in my first year, it's mainly around sort of breathing tests, which are used to diagnose patients with lung diseases and monitor them, and issuing like diagnostic devices for people with suspected sleep problems. So like broadly speaking, that's what we do, but it fits. I think it fits quite well with what Alex was talking about last week. So so like lung function tests are kind of like one aspect of how you diagnose a condition, and she'll also be involved from a different sort of side of it. She'll be looking at all the biopsies, lung biopsies, and then the breathing test will kind of like complement that for people with suspected lung conditions. But yeah, in terms of like how I got into it, my kind of route into the program, it's probably more of a lateral one. I think there's lots of different ways to get into respiratory physiology in general. But yeah, I started out at university doing sports science down in Portsmouth. And I think within about 4 weeks of starting at university, I kind of realised that I wasn't that interested in the performance side of things, and I was more interested in like physiology. And yeah, it was through that experience that I kind of got the opportunity to work in an outpatient clinic that did exercise testing for people with cystic fibrosis, and that was kind of my avenue into like the clinical side of things. Yeah, because that.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I did that. I started that in my second year, and essentially I was just going like once a week to help out with exercise testing at this outpatient clinic. And yeah, by the end of it, it was yeah, I picked up quite a lot of experience just by going like once a week. But yeah, that's kind of what grabbed me. I think some people will really love sports performance, and yeah, you can go and do that, but I wasn't that interested.
I'd say it's my cup of tea, but
yeah. And then after that, I kind of thought, oh, I might want to do something like a bit more mechanistic, do something like more lab based. So yeah, I ended up going to Belfast and doing experimental medicine, and again, it was kind of one of those experiences where you kind of figure out what's right for you. And for me, like working in a lab wasn't for me. I'm quite a practical person, and I quite like to kind of chat with people and sort of the patient facing stuff, but each their own.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool then. So if you're quite involved with like lung diagnosis and stuff, has there been any like redeployment to like COVID type things?
Yeah, so there's been lots of interesting things that respiratory physiologists have done. I've mainly been in the same place at Heartlands in Birmingham. But yeah, the services are kind of slowed down a bit. So we've got, because in the breathing tests you generate aerosols and there's a greater risk of like transmitting the virus, you have to kind of space out the appointments a lot more.
Yeah.
So you do see a lot less people, but But yeah, we're still seeing people. Obviously, I wasn't there back in March, but the service completely stopped at that point, and there was lots of more people redeployed for that reason. But yeah, at the minute, people are continuing to work. But yeah, my role at the minute is probably more of like the basic end of respiratory physiology. There are physiologists that are involved in like non-invasive ventilation, and I've written down some notes here. Yeah, so managing like all the oxygen therapies like after you've been discharged. So, but yeah, it's been a good experience. I think for anyone that's looking to apply to the STP for respiratory, there's lots of sort of like innovations and things you could talk about. Yeah.
It's a big area at the moment, I suppose. Must be quite interesting to kind of see the service in this situation, because it's like not probably happened much before.
Yeah, so I think at the minute it's we're seeing all the urgent people, so people with lung cancers, people that are pre-surgery, because you tend to do a breathing test before and after to kind of see the effects, and people with like severe fibrosis or interstitial lung diseases. So yeah, we're seeing people that are a lot more urgent than usual, but it's really like it's a privilege to be a part of it though, because I think you do get thrown in quite early to a lot of the tests that a respiratory physiologist does, and I think you do get, even if you might not get some of your competencies fully completed this year, you're getting experiences that you wouldn't necessarily get if there wasn't a global pandemic around. So, yeah.
You can get all the other experiences like later on when this isn't happening.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things that I've got on my mind at the minute that I might not quite get done this year, but yeah, it's progress, isn't it? So
and people will understand, like there's no way of controlling this. It's not anything that we've done, so
yeah. How has it affected your training in general? I didn't ask beforehand.
So our training's become pretty much all virtual, because obviously like genetic tests still have to happen. You still get prenatals, you still get like symptomatic people, like postnatal, so you still have to be doing tests. But I think there was like a dip just before I joined, because people just weren't presenting to their GPs or anything, so there was a little bit of a dip, but I think we're back up to normal, or we were back up to normal volumes just before this lockdown. So it's been quite interesting. I guess we've had more of like a theoretical, whereas you were like saying that you've kind of been thrown in immediately into like the practical side. We've had more of the theoretical side so far, and then I guess we'll have more of the practical as we like carry on.
It's interesting though. I think it's an odd one for us, because I think similar to you, there's the kind of fear of like fear of patients turning up to like an outpatient clinic and or a hospital, which kind of slows things down. But yeah, there are a lot of people at the minute that like don't turn up, like whether that's because they're scared of turning up, or you know, they've not got the mobility. Someone usually picks them up that can't travel to get them, or so there's lots of reasons why they're not turning up. But yeah, you'll get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully people will turn up. So are you quite patient facing then? Do you spend like a lot of the day with patients?
Yeah, so a lot of the role is kind of explaining to the patients how to do the tests themselves, which carries its own kind of frustrations, because I think sometimes you'll have people that come in, they do the test straight away, they take your instructions really well, and they get out of there and they're on their way. but a lot of the time, like for the more complicated people, people with more complicated illnesses, or people with learning difficulties, or the people that you need to get a test from, sometimes it's a lot more tricky to kind of get people to do the test as you like. So yeah, you do sometimes have days where you come home and you're like, oh my God, can I actually speak to people anymore?
Yeah.
But yeah, overall it's really good. Yeah, it's a really good kind of experience to get, because I think like before I started the STP, I was doing more of like a supportive role. So I was like supporting my supervisors in doing roles rather than like doing it myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like Alex was saying last year, I think sort of still learning how to be assertive.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a tough love kind of thing when you're doing breathing tests with people, because a lot of they struggle with breathing and you're trying to get them to breathe as hard as they can. So sometimes they won't do it right, and you can't just say, oh no, oh that's really good. You've got to kind of like, which is what I want to do personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
do you get like kids, or are they is there like a pediatric centre?
so at Heartlands, it's adult sort of outpatients, but yeah, there is the Children's Hospital, Birmingham Children's Hospital, and there. I think when it comes to like picking an elective, I might try and do like the pediatric sort of side of it, because I think that's something I don't really get at the minute. But yeah, I don't know if it would be better or worse doing it with kids.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess like they might take instruction just because they have to take instruction at like school and stuff a little bit easier, but then also trying to get kids to follow any instruction is hard at the best of times.
Yeah, I think you've obviously, I don't know how it would go, because you've obviously got the support of parents if they were there. They might explain it even better than you. But they also might just not want to be there, like the parents have dragged them along, kind of. So yeah, I don't know what to expect from that, but yeah, it's going all right. I'm in short.
Did you have, so we had uni in October, did you have like the same kind of thing?
Yeah, so yeah, it was like was it 6 week kind of intensive uni course. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not very good at kind of like staying in my. I know we've not really got much of a choice at the minute, but like staying in my room and just kind of. That's not kind of how I learn. I like to kind of go out and like chat to people about it. But yeah, it was definitely a different experience, wasn't it? I think long days just stuck in front of your computer wasn't. Yeah, but it was interesting. It was interesting to see like the different sides of it. We got a kind of insight into all the different STP roles, didn't we? But yeah,
I definitely agree though. I think because it was like the pre-learning and the online lectures that they pre-recorded, they had so overestimated what you could actually do within an hour. So they were like, yeah, this will take 45 to 60 minutes, and I'd be there after like the second hour still writing it up.
Yeah, I know one of the other respiratory trainees had very diligently counted the number of slides from start to finish, and it was like thousands of slides. I can't remember exactly how many it was, but yeah, it was thousands of slides, wasn't it, worth of content? Yeah.
That was something that I like fed back to them. I was just like, I don't really think we can be expected to fit this all in, but we'll see whether that will be the same for the next teaching or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you could do it any better though, actually. I know what the problems are, but I'm not quite sure what the solutions are to do it better. Maybe yeah.
What did you have to so did you have like a respiratory module and then 3 others?
Well, as part of the university one, yeah, so we had a week of respiratory, a week of cardiac, and then a week of vascular and critical care as well. was it a week? Yeah, I can't remember now, but essentially you're kind of getting an idea of like um, all the other sort of professions, physiology professions, and yeah. So in my first year, I'm going to be doing rotations in some of them as well. So like cardiac and vascular. So yeah, it's good knowledge, but I think at the time you're like, oh, I'm not going to take this all in, so I'm just going to try and like I'm probably going to learn this throughout the year, so I'm just going to read it now, come back to it.
Especially if some of the exams aren't until summer as well. I was just kind of like, let's focus on the one for January and move all the rest.
Yeah, I think for me at the minute, I'm sort of trying to get over the hill of, I think I've got about 3 assignments due in February, so I think when I get over that hill, I'll kind of like worry about the exams, but one at a time. I can't wish my life away just trying to.
We'll get it done eventually. So how have you found it like so far?
Well, just the STP in general.
Yeah.
I think it's been really good. I think the part I've liked is just kind of getting to chat to people that are way more experienced than me. But yeah, I think it's got the tricky part, I think, for me so far has just been I've relocated away from home in the middle of a pandemic where kind of it's not exactly conducive to like having a social life outside of work. So I think it kind of gets a bit magnified, doesn't it? Where it feels like you're just working all the time. But yeah, I've enjoyed it largely. I've enjoyed it, and I think to sort of like work with patients day to day that are probably at their sort of lowest ebbs. It's kind of quite a rewarding thing to be able to do on a daily basis. But yeah, I'm moving on to cardiac in a couple of weeks' time, so I'll be able to feed back a bit more then on how what that's like.
Are there any other trainees with you at Heartland?
So in my respiratory rotation, it was a while before I'd met anyone actually. So I went for about the first 2 months not knowing that any of these other STPs actually existed in respiratory. But yeah, I met a third year who was really nice, and it's nice to see. I think like Alex was saying in the last video you did, it helps you so much to kind of like speak with like other STPs. It kind of makes you feel like at least a bit normal about like not quite having the progress you need, and like little worries that you might have on a day to day really. But yeah, it has been more difficult this year. I'm sure you found it as well, just trying to actually like reach out to people and yeah, just to have a bit of a deload and that. Yeah,
especially as like we weren't able to go to uni, so I think like that normally you're able to like meet people maybe outside of your specialism and stuff, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to go up.
Yeah, I think it'll be very good. What are you going to Manchester next year as well, or is that?
Yeah, up to Manchester.
That'll be good.
So yeah, it'll be fun. Also, I'm in Birmingham, so it'll be nice to meet up like face to face once we're allowed to.
I think it'll be unusual. I don't know what. So I got vaccinated this week, but I don't know what happens when everyone's vaccinated. Like, do we still wear everything? Is all the PPE still staying on just for?
It'll be a strange one, won't it? Yeah, I'm hopefully going to get mine in a couple of weeks. So, but I'm also not patient facing, so don't mind if I have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think they're trying to roll it out to everyone, aren't they? Just to speed it up, which is probably a good idea. But...
How did you find the application? A bit of a.
So it was the first time I'd applied when I got on, so I felt really lucky.
Well done.
It's not like that for yours though, is it? It's so. I think there's some very high caliber people in there, like genomics and things like that on there.
I think a lot of people just apply. So, like, I didn't get on first year, so then I was like, right, stay at uni then. Don't know what else I want to do.
Yeah, so I think when I was applying, I did kind of one thing that did really help me out was just practicing beforehand. I know I kind of reached out to my uni at the time in Belfast, their sort of career service, and I only went to like 2 of the sort of like little slots that they had, but it was just kind of like talking over like some of the questions that you might get, and none of them even came up. It was good just to kind of like speak out loud, and yeah, because you are going to stumble. Like, I think everyone stumbles, and it's a normal thing, but it's sometimes it puts you off, it like throws you off. So I found that really helpful. And yeah, I think yeah, the application itself, I tended just to kind of, I did have quite a lot of experiences like voluntary things. So yeah, so I'd worked in like a Holland and Barrett beforehand, and I'd done all these innocuous volunteering experiences that kind of they really like apparently. So so yeah, I think it went down well. But yeah, generally it is quite a long process, isn't it? And it is quite demoralising. And at the start, you get past the first phase of those aptitude tests, and you go like, oh, I'm still probably not going to do it. Like, there's so many people involved. You're like, oh, I'll just pretend like I'm not going to get it, and then if it happens, it's a thing. And then you slowly get to the stage where you get in there, and yeah, I couldn't believe it when I had done it. But
yeah. I'd accepted a different job, and then I had to go back to them and be like, sorry, can't do it now. But no, yeah, I definitely agree, and especially the trying to just talk potential questions through, because I think they changed it to the same kind of interview as we had, and you get a couple of marks or whatever based on how well you give your answers, and I think I like rushed into them a bit too fast sometimes, and then ended up like using lots of filler words and ums and stuff.
Yeah, try not to swear was my thing during the try not to use any expletives was what I was
always good.
But no, I do think those things help, and I was going to say yeah, I think as well, like, you can like script something, but I don't think that for me that wouldn't work. I think just kind of go with the flow a bit and try and relax. I think this year I found the interview really good. They kind of they do try and find out like what you're like as a person as well. It's not just sort of all intensive questions on respiratory. It's yeah, they are trying to find out like what you do outside of work, and what you're like in a team and stuff in person. So I wouldn't listen to all the student room stuff, because you'll go crazy just trying to
Definitely. I think they want to know that you're going to fit into their team as well within that interview. So it's nice to just have a bit more of a general chat with them.
Yeah. How did you find it? Like, what was your interview like? Yeah.
It was really nice. So we had the deputy director, who's now the director in our department, and then one of the clinical scientists. And luckily I didn't have anyone from the school. I was so thankful, like, watching. So no, I found it good. They asked questions that I was kind of expecting, but then there was some just to like kind of push and see the extent of my knowledge, but I don't think they were necessarily trying to catch me out. I think they were just trying to see how much I understood. But no, I think it just suited me a lot better than an assessment centre would have.
Yeah, I think the same for me. And as well, yeah, there were questions that I stumbled on, like, that I came away afterwards and was like, oh god, that was terrible. Like, I'm not actually sure I'm going to get this, because I don't think I probably gave the very basic answer to it. But yeah, I try not to stress stress so much is probably my best advice.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you for joining us and agreeing to do it. It's interesting to hear everyone's experiences so far.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Like I said before, it's great that you started the channel, because I think it's good for all the other STPs to kind of have a nosy, and yeah, all the prospective ones. It's a great resource. So yeah,
thank you. I'm still a definite novice. Like, got my iPad sat on a drill box because I don't have like a proper desk.
Authentic. That's the.
Cool. Do you have anything else, like any particular advice or any tips that you wanted to add?
Not that much really. I'd probably just caveat what I'm saying and just say I'm pretty early in my journey as well. There's like a physiologist, and there are lots of paths into to get to the same kind of place without the STP. So for anyone that didn't get on the STP, there's lots of places that train you in house, and it might even work better for you. But yeah, it is a great opportunity, the STP, so not trying to detract from that. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I think that's my only advice really.
Cool. Thank you. Cool. And yeah, have a nice rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy yourself. Bye.
Okay.